now.
Okay, let me just hit accept here.
Fantastic.
Say, God, we're great.
We're great. Awesome. Today's guest on the Rock House Mag of interviews is none other than Ryan Cook. Ryan first hit fame with his own band, Hair of the Dog, before fulfilling every Kiss fan's dream. Ryan plays not only in Gene Simmons' solo band, but Ace Frehley's as well. Ryan, how are you, mate?
I'm so much better now that I'm talking to you, so this is great.
You are too kind. You are too kind. Whereabouts are you now? You're in Nashville, right?
I'm currently at home in Nashville, Tennessee, here in the States. And I just got home Sunday evening I just returned from a few more dates with Ace. I'm home for a few days. I head back out with Ace. So I've got some time off. And, I want to tell you, I appreciate you guys being flexible. I know we tried to do this last week, and just because of my Ace dates, today worked out better. So thank you for that.
Oh, mate, we're not going to get in the way of Ace dates, let me tell you. But you were born and raised in Kansas, is that right?
Yeah, Topeka, Kansas. And Topeka, which some people know, some people don't, is the capital of Kansas. It's up in the northeastern corner of the state. And Kansas is as middle America as you can get. I mean, we are right in the middle of the United States, And my family's still there. I was born and raised there. And, I love going back. It's one of those places where it was great to grow up, but it's not one of those places that families look at the map and go, we're going to go vacation there this summer with the kids. You know what I mean?
That is until, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl a few years ago. Mate.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. So see, thank you. That's the first time in my life that I got to see them win a Super Bowl. So I was over the moon about it.
Well,
very
mate,
happy.
As a long-suffering Dallas Cowboys fan, mate, I hope I get to see the Cowboys win another one very soon.
You know what? As much as I root for the Chiefs, I will tell you I appreciate that, because everybody, I feel like it'd be great if everybody could see their team win a Super Bowl once. So I'm so happy preseason started, and I'm on board. I'm ready to go.
We had a purple patch in the 90s, mate, but I've been a long-suffering fan ever since. But we're not even talking about the football. Let's get back to you. So, growing up in Kansas, what was the inspiration for you to pick up the guitar?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a couple different things. There was always music in my house. And that being said, not because my parents played instruments. They did not at all. My dad had a great voice, had a great low baritone voice, and he loved to sing along the radio. My dad loved Johnny Cash and Marty Robbins and Merle Haggard and all that classic country stuff, which I heard a lot of. And my mom was a rock and roll freak who loved Elvis.
Wow.
And I'm a huge Elvis fan. And so I always had the best of both worlds in my house. Plus, I have a sister who is 5 years older than me. Okay. So I used to take her Zeppelin records and her Ted Nugent records and her Aerosmith records and that kind of thing. So I had it pretty good.
That's a good mix of music in the Cook household.
Yeah, it is. And I have a cousin who's 6 or 7 years older than me who played guitar.
Okay.
And I went up to him a lot. And whenever I'd go to his house, I'd make him pull the guitar out. And, that's one of the first places I remember actually picking up and holding a guitar, Okay. But, just being just like many other kids, I just got inspired by seeing rock and roll and seeing Kiss for the first time. The People's Choice Awards and the Paul and Halloween special really got me into a place where I was like, oh my gosh, I got to try this.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
You're right. Music has changed so much. Back when we were growing up, mate, it was the AM radio or the occasional guest appearance on TV. Is that where you first experienced Kiss?
Yeah, and you know what? TV for sure.
Yeah.
I first heard about Kiss on TV. Absolutely. One thing you mentioned was AM radio, though, which I feel is such terrestrial radio is such, even though it's out there everywhere, people, I know that, people pay much more attention to Apple Music or satellite radio and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things in AM radio that was pretty cool, I can remember hearing a country artist like, Glenn Campbell.
Glenn Campbell, right?
Back to back back to back with the Beach Boys on the same station.
Yeah.
You know, crossing genre.
Was there any rock radio back in those days?
You know what? There was where I was growing up, but it was classic rock radio. So when I was a kid, I remember hearing Creedence Clearwater. Yeah. I'm really showing my age. I'm 52, you know, but I remember hearing Creedence on the radio, and they were a lot older than me. I mean, they've been around for a long time, but rock radio for me growing up was REO Speedwagon, Foreigner, Bad Company, Leonard Skinner, Aerosmith. That's the Nugent. That's the kind of stuff I heard on the radio where I was growing up if I listened to the rock station.
Yeah. You mentioned your sister, and I'm sure that she had a very good record collection. What were you stealing from your sister around this time?
The one I remember stealing the most was Nugent's Double Live Gonzo.
Wow.
Ted Nugent, Double Live Gonzo. And I'm sure you know this because I think you're more probably of a rock historian than I am, is that was Double Live Gonzo was the Cat Scratch Fever tour.
Was, yeah.
He was out promoting Cat Scratch. So not only was Cat Scratch on there, but Wang Dang was on there. Yep. And then you had stuff from, you know, the Derek sang, like Just the Doctor Ordered, Motor City Madhouse, and all that kind of stuff. And part of the thing that got me so fired up about Ted was just hearing his banter in between the songs, along with his, like, just his drawn out guitar solos. And you can kind of, you know, I could only, you know, it was a double live thing, just like Kiss Alive 2 was. You open it, and in Double Live Gonzo was the big collage of Ted. And you remember, there weren't any pictures of Derek, there weren't any pictures of anybody else. It was all Ted. This was his band. And I remember Nugent just struck me in such a way that that live record, just hearing his banter in between the songs as much as his guitar playing and Derek's vocals and everything, just blew me away. That I borrowed that record more than anything.
Wow. You know, it's interesting. With Australian rock around that same time, there wasn't much international rock coming through, but that album, Double Live Gonzo, was one of the ones that broke through into the Australian charts. So that's fantastic. You've picked up the guitar. When did you start playing in your own bands?
Well, here's a funny thing. And I've told this, I tell this to Philip a lot, who's I play with in Gene and Ace's band and the residency and that kind of stuff. I always joke that I think I started playing first around 10 years old.
Okay.
But it didn't take until I was about 13. Okay. I started on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And the first couple lessons that I took from a couple different people, they were these music books, actually, the teacher would teach from. And I definitely was guilty of wanting to run before I could walk.
Every guitar player in the world.
And I had the discipline to learn the fundamentals that I needed to learn or pay attention and do it. And my folks were kind of the mindset of they never let me quit something if I started it. For example, like if you're going to play guitar, you're going to play guitar. Or if you're going to go out for a sport, you don't have to do it forever, but you have to finish this season. Like you can't quit you got to see it through, right? And thank goodness with the guitar, they did that. And in the interim, I learned bar chords. And once I learned a bar chord, it changed everything. And then when I was about 13, I found a teacher who was like, he's like, what have you learned so far? And just from instinct, I go, he goes, oh, there. And then once he got where I wanted to come from, when I was 13, it all took off. I think I was in my first band at 14 in school with your friends.
Yeah.
And we were terrible. we were terrible, but I tell you what we lacked in the fundamentals and skill, we made up for with enthusiasm.
That's awesome.
It was just so fun. I still remember the guys I did the first band with. The band was called Sweet Cheater.
Sweet Cheater. Rats. That's the Rats.
Yeah. It's the first song on Rats EP, side one of the cassette.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And you just learned. That's what we did. We were cover bands, you learn by emulating we were playing Rat songs. We were trying to play Rat songs and Dio and Deep Purple and all that,
Right.
Yeah. I definitely tell you this, like I said, very bad when I started out, but I definitely cut my teeth on some really good. I had really good people to look up to. Learning to play the riff from Woman from Tokyo or something like that was a really big deal and a pretty exciting day for me on a Saturday. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, you have classic tracks in there, and probably like my band, you stumble through it to make it sound somewhat decent. If my old band is watching the Voodoo Sex Dolls, I'm glad we quit, mate. I'm glad we quit.
Oh, what a great name. That's such a good name. I hope you can make at least a band t-shirt of that sometimes, because that's a good name.
I will make that band t-shirt and send it over to you.
No, band t-shirt, not bad. Band. I think it'd be a good t-shirt.
All right, I'm going to get one design, mate. I'll get you a send it over.
Please, I'll wear it.
Maybe in our next interview. I'll hold you that as well.
Okay.
So, growing up in Kansas, you've done the high school thing, but you found your way to Nashville.
Florida.
Whereabouts?
Here's what happened. I knew once I hit high school and caught the bug and got a little better bands and started actually working and playing with people, working in original music, not only doing covers, but working in original music. And I knew what I wanted to do.
Stuff at this point, Ryan?
I'm sorry?
Were you writing your own stuff at this point?
I was learning to write.
Yeah.
Okay. I can already tell you the songs I wrote then, they're not worth even trying to judge up again, but it's just part of what you do. You got to learn how to do it,
Yeah.
And I kind of feel exceptions don't make the rule. I don't think, but I kind of feel like everybody that we love and admire right now as a songwriter, a singer, or a player, they all weren't very good at one point. You had to get there, And that's kind of how I felt about the songs I was writing at that time and everything. But I went to Florida for a bit, and I went to learn audio engineering, but more so music business. Okay. Yeah. So I went and got my associate's degree. And all along, I just kind of knew I was different than most guys that were like, I'm just going to be a band and that's it. I wanted to be in a band, but I wanted to learn the music business as well. I want to learn the nuts and bolts of it. I wanted to be able to know everything about it. And I told myself, it was a lot to take on, but I did it. It was like, I'm going to learn the music business and try and get in the band at the same time. It was a lot. I did end up getting my associate's degree in music business, came to Nashville because for whatever reason, I just didn't feel like LA was right for me at that time.
Okay.
But I was only in Nashville for a year and a half before I eventually got moved to LA.
So what were you doing in Nashville?
You know what? I got jobs in the industry. What I did when I left and got my associate's degree in music business, I came here and I got a job in the mailroom as an intern at a record label, a country record label. Okay. Country. It was Arista Records. And you're in the mailroom, you meet everybody in every department of a record label. You meet the marketing people, the promotion people, the A&R people, everything. So everything goes through you when you're in the mailroom, right? So I'm learning everything about everything, and I'm just a sponge trying to soak it up, all the while trying to find guys to play with and all this kind of stuff. So after interning there for a month, they hired me. And I really wasn't making much more when they hired me than I was as an intern. But I was there for after they hired me for 4 months, I got a job at EMI Music. Wow. EMI is huge. It is huge. I got a job as the tape copy guy at the publishing company. And that's when.
Now, what is the tape copy guy? What is the tape copy?
The tape copy guy, we have a staff of writers, songwriters, right? And when you're in Nashville, writers get signed to a publishing company, and all they do is write and write and write. And then those songs they get taken and they're pitched to different artists around town to get cut. Okay. I was the guy that made the copies that got sent to all the record labels that day. So I was hearing all the music. And again, everything was funneling through the tape copy room, just like everything funnels through the mailroom at a label.
Wow.
And all the while I'm trying to learn how to learning to try to find guys in the band with, learning to write songs. And EMI had a studio in the basement, and they would let me go down there at night and record if no one was in there. So guess a songwriter producer named Desmond Child.
I was going to ask Desmond.
Was an EMI writer in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He made a trip to Nashville because he wanted to write with some country writers. So guess who meets him?
Your good self.
He heard some of my demos. He's like, I got some guys in LA that I'm working with. You would be perfect. You want to go out there? So I flew out there. Wow. And that ended up being the band Hair of the Dog.
Hair of the Dog, mate. Let's just backtrack before we spent a bit of time on Hair of the Dog. Desmond Child, fairly big in the rock world himself, having penned numbers for Alice Cooper, Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Aerosmith.
Joan Jett. Cher. Michael Bolton. Kiss. Ricky Martin. All genres. He's all over.
Yeah.
All over.
Now, a pretty big name. Yeah, pretty big name in rock. Well, cross genres, as you point out. But he hooks you up with these guys in LA, which were to become Hair of the Dog. Tell me about your initial meeting with the guys that formed Hair of the Dog.
Well, it's comical because everything I was supposed to go out there and do, we didn't do. I went Thursday night, and I got there on a Thursday night really late, and I left on a Sunday evening really late. And all we did was go out and party. And we got along great. And then finally that last day, we were already before we even played together, we were talking about just kind of like you and I are doing. We were talking about how we grew up and our influences and who we liked and everything. It's just so weird. And I know people get tired of hearing it, but everything to me and everybody I work with always goes back to the Kiss. Yeah. And my first introduction to who Desmond Child was I Was Made for Loving You. Kiss, yep. Right? Yep. And then, of course, all the great people you mentioned, like especially Bon Jovi and Aerosmith and Alice and all that kind of stuff, I was such a big fan of. Anyway, fast forward, these guys are working with Desmond. Me and definitely at least one of the guys in the band, our favorite band was Kiss. So all we did was talk about Kiss and how can we do this, that, and the other to emulate our favorite band without trying to be them. And then anyway, so we get there that whole weekend and all we did was go out. We just partied. Yeah. I hadn't been to LA as an adult, and I'm using adult loosely. But all we did was go out, and it's like, okay, this is the life here. This is what you're. And then that last day, we threw around some song ideas. I sat with an acoustic guitar in their living room and sang along and played with them. And we're like, all right, I'll see you in 2 months. And I came back to Nashville. I gave my notice and I gave everybody a hug and thanked them. They threw me a going away party. And 2 months later, I was driving across the country in my pickup truck to move to LA.
Back to LA. LA must have been teaming at that time as well. What year was this? This would have been early 90s, right?
Early 90s. Yeah, early 90s. And here's the thing. Everybody knows of the 80s explosion of the Sunset Strip. Crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Here's the deal. I'll be honest with you. When I got there, that was over.
Oh, no.
But let me tell you something. It was over in the sense that the standing of the guard as far as that kind of music had changed. And, it was all very alternative scene. So what you and I are thinking of that whole 80s LA scene was gone, but it didn't deter me or turn down my enthusiasm or my excitement one bit, because it was the Strip and it was still so much larger than life to me. I spent so much time there, too much time there. I mean, I can tell you everything from getting my first tattoo there to meeting some of the coolest band people there that I ever met, to going there so much that they used to feed us at the Rainbow. Because like we actually had a table in the kitchen. We would just walk in and sit in the back and hang out. I mean, and then when they would close the place, at 2 a.m, we would stay in there with everybody that worked there till 6 a.m.
Oh,
It
nice.
became this really fun. I mean, and it's everything that you can imagine. And so, as much as people can say the Strip wasn't thriving at that time, I felt like I had landed on rock and roll planet, and I was having the time of my life. I loved it. It was really everything that I wanted it to be.
Do you still have your table at the Rainbow?
You know what? Oh, in the kitchen, it's
Yep.
still there. A lot of other people sit there now, but whenever I go back, I just love it. It's fun. It's a good hang, and I know it seems cliche to say, "Oh, we went to the Rainbow," but I really did have so much fun there, and it was just such a big part of us doing what we did and what we wanted to do.
I hope to get there myself at some stage, but
I hope you do.
Look out! I'll look for your table when I get over there.
We had our first record release party there. When our record came out, I remember they were so kind that they actually gave us a booth, and there was a huge poster of the cover of our album in a booth that was there for at least 10 years.
Oh,
in the dining room. And
awesome.
then after it left, things changed in there, and I don't know where that poster is. They've moved it somewhere because there's so many, but yeah, our booth is gone. But yeah, we had, at least for 10 years there, we had the Hair of the Dog booth, which is great.
Awesome. We talk about your debut album, 1997, the self-titled album, Hair of the Dog, come out. Yeah. And a number of classics on there. We're talking about Cadillac Jack, which is probably the most renowned Hair of the Dog song. The Party Ain't Over. That sounds like your
that was our mantra.
Right? And then
that was our battle cry. Yeah.
That was what, sorry?
That was our battle cry. Every verse and every line of that song is about our life in that city.
So the album comes out. How did you promote it in those days?
Well, we did what we thought we were supposed to do. We showcased for labels. And for people who don't know what a showcase is, it's when you have record labels come to your rehearsal spot, or you rent out a venue in the afternoon and have labels come. We did it. We got turned down by everybody. Because, again, let me remind you, even though we were never a hair metal band, even though we had a lot of hair, we weren't a hair metal band. We were just a hard rock and roll band. What we were doing was very unpopular at that time, though, even though it wasn't hair metal, because we weren't Pearl Jam. You looked at us and you knew that we were a rock band, and we were not Soul Asylum.
No.
And I have nothing against that stuff. I totally get how genres change, but that just wasn't what we were doing, which made it real hard for us. So a lot of labels came to see us. They all told us no. So we ended up putting the record out ourselves. And we printed, I think the first time that we did it, gosh, we may have printed up 500 copies.
Okay.
And just at shows, they started selling. And Cadillac Jack was released as a single through an album network, and it was doing really well, which started album sales. Then we got on tour, and all of a sudden we found ourselves having to order more CDs more often than not.
That's awesome.
And then guess what? It just became this word of mouth thing. It's like, oh, these guys, I know these guys. And then you start seeing us in Hit Parader. Then you start seeing us in Metal Edge. Then you see us in Circus. And it's like, we did it. It just became all of a sudden not getting signed and showing that we could still go out and do it on our own and sell records. Then a label got on board. And then which was validating, just to show that not only were we having a blast on the road, it actually meant something. It actually turned into something, so much so that when the second record came around and we had a label deal, they got Michael Wagner to produce the record.
Wow.
And Michael Wagner was Skid Row, White Lion, Extreme, Metallica, Motley Crue. I mean, just,
awesome.
And that's who we're working with too.
Mate, it would have been a battle back in those days, because I looked at the charts in '97, and who were dominating the charts were bands like No Doubt, Notorious B.I.G., Spice Girls, Puff Daddy. So for you guys, no rock and roll. So for you guys to get that record deal and have such a famous producer, help you with it, it would be unheard of, right, in these days.
It was unheard of.
Yeah. So at this point, you were also touring, and you opened for some great acts. We talk about Ted Nugent. You opened for Nugent.
We sure did.
Like, here's this young kid from Kansas opening for one of his idols.
I know it was pretty funny because I remember the first, because there were a couple different occasions where we would end up doing, like, we would never do a whole tour with Ted. Like, we would get a week's worth of dates here, and then one date here, and then another date here. And I still remember the first time that we went, when he lived in Michigan, he actually had a store, like a hunting store.
Of course.
Okay.
Yep.
Go figure. His wife had an aerobic studio attached to it. Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's a strange combo there.
It sure is. Anyway, they knew we were coming through town, and it was just like, I remember the first time, and we went in the store and we looked around and everything, and we're just like, this is just so weird. This is so weird, because, but I can still remember seeing him, and he's like, boys, welcome to Ted Quarters.
That doesn't surprise all that. Does not surprise.
Yeah. But I actually got to do a photo shoot with him with Niels Lozauer. That was a lot of fun. I'll have to find those photos. You just kind of reminded me of it that happened. We toured with some great acts. I mean, we were doing what we were just on the road, and we were like, have guitars, we'll travel. We opened for Cooper.
Yeah.
Back then, Nugent. We spent many months with Rat on their reunion tour when they got back. We spent many months with Cinderella right after the same thing. Okay. We were just, and if we weren't opening for someone, we were playing other clubs by ourselves on the nights off. So
a couple of other bands that you toured with, Jackal. Who partied harder there? Out of you and the Jackal boys.
Dusty was just wound up with his own whiskey company. So that says it all right there, right?
I'm sure there's a few stories that are not made for this video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing was, I mean, we did dates with Dio. We did dates with, because our record label at the time was Spitfire. Which was Hair of the Dog, Dio, Black Label Society, Motorhead, Alice.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting, but those are like the ones I just remember off the top of my head. But
I think Black Label Society were on there as well.
I said Black Label. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Sorry, I missed that. My bad.
Yeah. And just, it was definitely birds of a feather with that label. It was a hard rock label for sure. We toured with Motorhead, Nashville Pussy, and Motorhead was on that label.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lemmy, what a great character himself.
Fantastic. He sang a song with me on our third record.
Now, I'm going to ask you about your third record. After 97, in 2000, Rise come out, 2001, Ignite. These are really difficult albums to find now. Where can us fans find them?
Well, let me tell you, I appreciate you asking. So we had a deal with the label. We had a really good attorney. And what happened was the records were in print forever. Yeah. And then once the deal ended, everything on that label, on Spitfire, which is owned by Eagle Rock, which is a European company, which is a great big company. They're great. Everything became kind of scarce and went out of production, right? So 5 years, the deal was with our attorney and the label, 5 years after the release of our third record, all of the rights and masters returned to us, everything.
Okay.
We retained all the rights to everything.
That's a great deal.
That's a great deal. So just 2 years ago, we released on iTunes, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Prime, all the streaming services. We did a greatest hits compilation called Big Bones. And I don't say it's more of a compilation than a greatest hits of all three records. And it's on all the streaming services. It's called Big Bones. And it's on vinyl. It's a double album. I wish I had one here to show you, because we're talking about Kiss Alive 2 and Double Live Gonzo. We modeled it after those. It's a 180 gram. It sounds great. Michael Wagner remastered two of the songs for the record. And the gatefold LP is just beautiful. There's no CDs or cassettes. I mean, we just didn't do that, but it's available on all the streaming services.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to do some more research. I could not find that on iTunes. Maybe it's,
you know what? Since we have each other's contact info, after this and on email, just hit me up, and I'm pretty sure I can dig up some CD copies or something if you want the CDs. So
I will also be ordering that double gatefold LP.
yeah.
Going back to the LPs, there's something magic, right? Back in the day, walking into a shop and buying a vinyl record, you'd stare at it for hours. And back when I was buying records, there was no radio airplay, so you'd go and buy a record based on the cover and the back art themselves. And I discovered a lot of great bands just by looking at the cover art. Britney Fox, Queensryche, bands like that had no radio airplay. You'd rush home, put it on the record player, and you just go, wow.
See, and the thing was, though, and again, this is me really stating my age, which is fine. I'm fine with it, but back then, when there was no internet or anything, there was so much less accessibility and so much more mystery about every band. And I think that just helped grow the image of every band. Like, you didn't see Robert Plant eating lunch and whatever on your phone, or you didn't see Paul Stanley shopping at Bloomingdale's, or you didn't see what everybody's doing at every waking moment. It was a chance. You had to look at the TV guide and hope that someone was going to be on TV, maybe, or you just had to wait till a new magazine came out every month and hope that your favorite band. That's how we had our news. We got our news once a month.
Yeah.
And I miss the mystery of all that. It's like everything is so accessible now, and I think it's a little less interesting.
Mate, you just press two buttons and you've got an album that you were searching for 20 years now, right? With a click of a button. Yeah.
I'm not knocking or saying anything bad about the internet or whatever. I mean, it has so many positive and useful things, but on the other hand, it's like it did take away a lot of the mystery about a lot of the people that
Exactly right. So anyway, 2001 comes along. You Lemmy sings on your last album, and then the band do part ways. What happened there?
Well, we had been together, and the thing was, and I'll be the first to admit this. I'll tell it like it is. We got a record deal. We worked our asses off, and we got the record deal, and then we did it. It was hard. It was very difficult. It was. Nothing was ever good enough. You always wanted things to be bigger. You wanted the road to be much smoother than it was bumpy. It was just hard. It was just, and I'm not lazy, and I definitely like to work, but it was all work, and the work reward ratio was very lopsided. As much as I got to attain a lot of my lifelong dreams, I always wanted the dreams to be bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bigger than what I'd attained. Now, that being said, the one thing that my band, or our band, Hair of the Dog, had on, I think, a little above other bands was when the band broke up, we were still friends. We didn't break up because we were mad at each other. We didn't break up because some just politics or anything like that. We literally just looked at each other and said, this feels like the end of the road for this band. And man, let's just call it a day and part as friends. And we did. And I'm still so proud of that to this day. Would I have loved if the band have been arena headline status? Of course I would have. I'd be lying if I said we didn't, but every band wants that. It didn't happen. We gave it as good of a try as we could. And then it just, and the label was on the same page. They kind of felt that they'd gone as far with us as they could, and vice versa. So it was just, I can still remember the meeting we had at the Italian restaurant when we all just went, okay, I have really great memories. I climbed mountains with those guys. I mean, we really climbed out. Yeah. Definitely. And there were a lot of firsts. First time hearing myself on the radio.
Wow.
First time getting a record deal.
Yeah.
First time playing an arena. First time getting a tour bus. First time being on the charts. First time being in Billboard magazine. I mean, first time being there's so many things on my list that I just checked off as a kid that I wanted, that I just told you. You know, it was just all the path to where I'm at right now. That's how I have to look at it.
Yeah, mate, that's still huge, you know, for any aspiring musician out there.
Yeah, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You then moved back to Nashville.
I did.
In 2004.
2004.
Hello, my notes. I made the zero look like.
Hey man, there's a 4 in there. There's a 4 in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I had been off the road for a little bit, and I still maintained. I hadn't burned any bridges here.
Good.
And I made friends. I remained friends with everybody that I worked with the first time. I wasn't on the road, and I got a job offer. It's like, look, you're not touring right now. If you come back here and work at this publishing company, and help us work this catalog and get some writers and do the whole thing, you can still tour, but come do this and come here. And I thought, okay, I'll come try that for 2 years. Well, it's 2022.
Yeah.
I'm still here. So I came back and I did the publishing thing again, because like I said, don't forget, I had that degree.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And I still, so again, that plays into life so much further later. It's like, it wasn't a ridiculous move for me to do what I did back when I was 20. No. I learned so much about the industry in that time period, and was able to even come here and go, okay, I've now been a publisher. I've been an artist. I've been signed to and it kind of like got me a good relationship with the writers, because they knew that I'd been there, done that as well. And I came into that for a while, and then, I eventually ended up back where I'm supposed to be, on the road. But that's just, again, part of the whole path.
It just shows how crucial that decision was in your early days to go and do that study, right?
Yeah.
And I think
because honestly, to tell you the truth, had I gone directly to LA when I was 18, I wouldn't have had, because right now I feel like Seabiscuit. Yeah. I mean, I got blinders. And if I set my sights on something, there's nothing outside of these that are going to like get in the way of it.
Yeah.
When I was 18, had I gone, I might not be talking to you today, just because it was all about discipline, and I wouldn't have had it. Some people would have at that young of age. I wouldn't have had it at that time to be able to have the wherewithal to go, I need to do this amount of things to be successful. It just wasn't my time. It wasn't my time.
So you've moved back to Nashville, you're working in publishing, but you move into an area, your next door neighbor is also a pretty famous name. Sorry, I should have said that while you were
Doctor McGee.
Doc McGee, mate. Tell me, how did you end up living next to Doc McGee,
Well, here's what's funny.
There's Doc.
I started, it's a weird story. When I got here, everybody knew me as the guy from LA. This is before everybody started moving here from California in 2004. And everybody knew me as like Rock and Roll Ryan. I was like the rock guy in Nashville or whatever, which was fun. Hey, I took the title and wore it. But I had some friends here, one of them being Paul Taylor from Winger.
Yeah, wow.
Right. And Jeremy, who plays with me now, and Gene and Ace, and we were in the residency together. Back then I started a thing called Big Rock Show.
Yeah.
And Big Rock Show was Paul Taylor, Jeremy, a guy I went to school with, and another drummer friend of mine named Matt here. And we were, and the people that own this club said, look, will you do an 80s metal review show kind of thing? And I was like, well, that's easy. And we did exactly what you expect. We did Rat, Van Halen, Whitesnake, Dio, Bon Jovi, Judas Priest, you name it, the hits. And we started playing this club once a month, and it was just packed. I mean, just
still in Nashville, right?
That was in Nashville.
Was Nashville big with the metal / rock scene in those days?
That's why we went over so well at that time.
Yeah, okay.
And we were doing that. And in the interim, in comes Doc. So my publishing company's on this street on 18th Avenue. 2 doors down, 3 doors down, McGee opens an office. And I'm walking down the street one day, and there's a moving truck, and all this Kiss stuff is going into this building.
Oh.
Including a pinball machine. And I'm like,
so rare these days.
And I'm like, well, who's moving in here?
I need to make acquaintances with this individual.
And it was Doc, and we became fast friends. And not only neighbors in business, we ended up being neighbors in the same community out here in Brentwood. And it turned into me and him and his brother, Scotty. I was with Scotty probably 6 nights a week. Okay. Scotty and I were, and then Doc was half of those nights, but Doc lived around the corner. So it was, and he was just so incredibly kind. He started coming to Big Rock Show.
Yeah.
It was football, American football, at his house on Sundays. It was anything that they did, they so kindly invited me to. Any artists they worked with, anything going in town, they made me family.
Again, living every rock star's dream, mate.
Yeah, made me family. And then one day, Doc and I went to coffee. Starbucks. You guys have Starbucks?
We did have it over here, but Starbucks.
Well, whatever. It's
Starbucks.
A coffee shop. So one morning, we had a coffee shop here in Brentwood, not far from our house. We got together one morning in 2010, and he says, "You know what?" He goes, "You're not going to believe this." He goes, "Kiss are doing a cruise." Like, what?
The first Kiss Kruise. Yeah, wow.
He goes, "You guys would be perfect." Big Rock Show.
Oh, no.
Like, really? Do you think? Because I've never been on a cruise. I go, "Doc, I've never been on a cruise." He goes, "Neither is Kiss." So we went and did this first cruise, and all I can do is I can thank him and Kiss for letting us be on it. But the fans on that boat were so awesome and so just present. Wow. We ended up being asked for return cruises more than any other band. I think Big Rock Show did 7 or 8 of the Kiss cruises. And, the last ones are this year. And I did one more because Rachel Mullen and I did one as a whole different thing. But that's how I got the Gene gig. Yeah.
So no doubt you're on the cruise. Gene would have been watching from afar, right? Did he approach you after?
From a close.
No doubt.
So there's on the ship, there's several different music venues, okay?
Yeah.
So there's music all the time on a ship. The ship holds about 3,000 people. And one of the coveted spots on a ship is the Lido deck, the pool deck, which is the big outdoor deal.
Yeah.
We always got put out there. And at some point, each time we'd play out there, I'd look over, I'd be on stage, and over on stage left over here, there's a big, kind of artist-only VIP area.
Okay.
And I'd look over each cruiser, and there'd be Paul.
Oh, no.
There'd be Gene. There'd be Tommy. Then at some point, they'd all come out and they'd see. And then us getting asked back every year was a good indication that we were doing okay.
Yeah. Just a question on that. I mean, you're obviously a huge Kiss fan.
Yeah.
When you look over and you see your idols just there staring at you, watching you play, did that make you drop a note at all? Or?
You know what? It did. You would think it would.
Yeah.
It made you just pull your game together. It was like I think it kind of puffed you up a little bit because it's like, if they're out here watching it, it must sound pretty good.
Yeah.
We must be doing all right. And it was definitely a confidence builder. It goes both ways for me. I won't say I'm going to tell you that I had enough experience touring and playing and doing small clubs and doing arenas and I had my confidence as a player, but I was never had so much confidence that I was conceited or whatever. Seeing them come out and watch us and hang around for a minute, it definitely made you feel like you were doing something right.
Yeah. Okay.
That and so, you know, that, I mean, that's the long answer to your question. It's like, I probably dropped a note here or there. It didn't feel like it because you've got all this coming back at you from this huge crowd. And that was part of the draw. You know, they would come and they would look at us and they would look out there and then put it together and go, this is working. You know? And that was just such a big deal for us.
Yeah. There's no
That's a big
doubt
deal.
Paul and Gene are just amazing, not only musicians, but they've got amazing business minds as well. So they would have looked at that and went, yeah, something good is happening here.
Yeah.
So at what point did Gene approach you and say, hey, Ryan, we better do something together?
Here's the deal. So I told you I did all those shows with Big Rock, those cruises with Big Rock Show.
Yep.
Then the 1 year the Big Rock Show did not get asked to come back, I have a good dear friend of mine lives just down the street down here from a band named Skid Row. He's Rachel Bolan. And he and I have been friends for a long time. That's one of the bands Hair the Dog opened for. Yep. We remained friends ever since. He and I started doing a thing in Nashville just for fun called Rock and Roll Radio Show. And we would go to different clubs around town and just DJ hard rock and do this hard rock party where he and I would just sit. We would just sit and drink and DJ and play hard rock all night. So even though Big Rock Show wasn't on this certain cruise, it was the one that was the Creatures of the Night themed cruise. It was called Creatures of the Deep. And me and Rachel and I got asked to do Rock and Roll Radio Show on there. Yeah, we were on the ship. So Skid Row was on there playing as a band. Yeah. And then Rachel would get on stage and he and I would go DJ from midnight to 3 a.m. And the ship just goes 24/7. It's a booze cruise. So it was on that cruise that I got the word from Gene. Hey, Gene wants to talk to you. Hey, Gene. And our meeting kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. Yeah. And finally, to the last day, I told Rach, I go, I don't think this is going to happen. I don't know. And then I got the call, hey, can you come have lunch? And it was on there that he finally told me, he knew that Hair the Dog covered I on our second record.
Yeah.
Underrated. It was funny.
Underrated.
What's that?
I is underrated as a kid's song too.
It is. I agree. And one of the things is, going back real quick, in LA, once you get a record deal or once you start getting some noise about your band, the world gets really small. You start being backstage at the same shows with everybody. You start getting access to everywhere. So all of a sudden I was running into Paul and Gene everywhere in LA. Right? So even though we weren't friends ever, we were acquaintances and they knew. So as I talked to him, I found out that he knew that we covered that. I remember this. And he definitely does his homework. And then he told me, of course, on the cruises he saw us, he goes, I really enjoyed what you did. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and do a solo tour. No one knows yet. It's only maybe 3 or 4 shows, nothing big. But could you put together a band for me?
Wow.
And
so your name was first, there's no doubt I'm putting myself in this band.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah. So he meant, he said, can you be in this? Can you put a band together? And you and these guys come play for me. And I knew exactly who I was going to call the minute I got back to this, to Nashville. And a month later, we were at a rehearsal in December at SIR Studios here.
Fantastic. The first gig was a corporate gig comprising of rhythm and blues type songs.
Yeah, it was weird. Here's what happened. It was me, Philip, Jeremy, and our friend Jared Pope, who plays drums for Tom Kiefer now. Okay?
Okay, right.
We were in Toronto, Canada. It was a big boutique hotel ballroom for a corporate gig. And Gene's first idea was that he was not going to play bass. He was just going to stand there and sing. Right?
Okay. Yep.
I love him. And I said this to him. I was just like, I got to tell you, look, I go, as a fan coming to see you, I go, I would be so disappointed to not see you playing bass. I go, so much of who you are, blah, blah, blah. I did it as diplomatically as I could because I didn't want to insult him because I do respect him. But I was just like, as a fan, I'm telling you, please play bass because this will make such a difference. And he did. And we started out doing, he wanted to do like you said, a lot of R&B tunes along with a couple Kiss songs. Like at the first rehearsal, we had to beg him to play one Kiss song.
Wow.
Like we were doing all this stuff, and you know, it's his band, so we had to go along with it. But that was the only show that we strayed away so far from his past. Because we were doing 867, we were doing like stuff by Roy Head. And we did some Beatles stuff, which is great because he's such a Beatles fan. But it was after that show we came to the States in Cleveland and finally did like what I call a proper Gene Simmons list. We were doing stuff they'd never played, like Got Love for Sale and Charisma and Radioactive and all that. That's when it got legs and ended up being 2 years instead of 4 shows.
Yeah, that's what the band wants to see, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
So it must have taken a lot of courage to go up to Gene and give him that career advice, right?
It did, but like I said, he knew where I was very diplomatic and respectful. I will remain to be that way with him, you know, whenever I see him again or whatever, because he's always been that way with me. And it's just, I mean, you're such a fan. Do you want to come there and just see Gene as a crooner, or do you want to see Gene Simmons playing the bass? Because he's such a stylist and so good.
I don't want the crooner. I want the demon, mate. I want the demon every day. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, him not having that bass around him and doing what he does, it would not have come across the same without it. Yeah.
How did the connection with Ace happen?
In Australia.
Right.
So get this. So we got an offer, or Gene got an offer rather, to come to Australia and do Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide. What am I forgetting?
Perth. Was Perth on the
No.
gig? No. So it would have been Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide only.
Melbourne. Yeah. He accepted. So we were super excited about that. And then the promoter said, we would love to have Ace Frehley open the show. And Gene said, fine, that's great. Perfect. Well, then Ace reached out to Gene, because here's the deal. During our Gene Simmons tour, we played this baseball stadium in St. Paul, Minnesota, here in the United States with Cheap Trick one night, right?
Nice.
Yeah. And it was Don Felder from the Eagles, so we backed up Don Felder, right? Me, Philip, Jeremy, and Brent Fitz from Slash's band, who's in Gene's band.
Yep.
We backed up Don Felder from the Eagles. Rick Nielsen came out and played with us from Cheap Trick.
Wow.
Don left. Cheap Trick came out and did an entire set.
Yeah.
Left. Then Gene comes out. We came out. And for the first time in 13 years, Ace Frehley and Gene Simmons got together on stage again at this show. We were the band. So it's Ryan, Jeremy, Philip, Brent Fitz, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley.
Wow.
He comes out for the last 3 songs. And we play together. We have a great time. It's this baseball stadium that is huge, and just talk about a night. So we do that. It's done. Ace comes up and says how much he likes the band, blah, blah, blah. Then you fast forward to Australia. the reason I'm telling you this is because he then, when Australia got presented, he said, "Hey, I really liked your band. Do you think they would consider backing me up as well in Australia?"
So Ace talking to Gene?
Yeah. And Ace said, Gene said, "It's fine with me if it's fine with Ryan."
Wow.
So we reached out via email, and then I in turn reached back out to Gene and I said, "Look, respectfully, are you really okay with this? Or are you just saying, I gotta go? Because I need to know." I goes, "If you're not okay with this, we're okay with not." He goes, "No." He says, "As long as it doesn't interfere with my gig, do it." And I'm like, "We're on it." So we go to Australia, we play with Ace, go back, half hour, change clothes, come back out with Gene. That's how the whole Ace thing happened. Yeah.
Again, and as a Kiss fan, this is everyone's dream, right?
Absolutely. And so unexpected.
And you're still an Ace fan today, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'll be leaving with Ace again next week.
Fantastic. Where will you be next week?
Oh, you would ask me that.
Around the States?
Yeah. Oh,
that's a good enough answer for me.
I think we're going to be near Boston. Let's see, New Jersey, Boston.
Around that area.
Yeah.
Any plans to come to Australia, Ryan, with either Gene or Ace again?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I got to tell you, we've talked about it as a band, and it's not up to us at all. We would love to do the whole Gene Ace thing again.
Yeah.
Where they're together. Because, Kiss still has a lot of business to take care of.
Yeah, they're actually here in Australia next month.
Yeah. And they've already announced more shows for next year.
Have they really?
Oh, yeah. And Gene has always said to us, as soon as I'm done with this little band, jokingly, he wants to go back out as Gene Simmons' man. So, we can cross our fingers for that. You can't hold him to anything. He's so busy.
Oh,
he has so much going on. He's not just the bass player,
No, he's not. Bass player is only a small part of what Gene does, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's a media star. He's not just a rock star anymore. He's a media star, and he's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. I mean, he's everything. He's a philanthropist. He does all that stuff.
Yeah.
If he were to call us to do it again, we've already told him. He said he's going to. We can't hold him to it. If he does, we will say yes.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Ryan, you've had an amazing career from the early days.
A lot of fun.
Moving to LA, the release of 3 fantastic records under the hair of the dog, touring with Gene, touring with Ace. But what's next for you? This only sounds like the start to me. What's next?
It feels like it. I wish I had a crystal ball, but I know that we still have things with Ace. I hope some Gene stuff is on the table because we want to. If he's game for it. Philip and Jeremy and I, we have been writing some music finally, and we did record it actually.
Nice.
So I don't want to tell right yet who produced it, because it's just part of what we're working on and working towards. It was one of those things that got presented to us about making a record, and when the guy that ended up producing it, we found out that it was actually for real, and we did it. I honestly can't believe still today that it happened. They're mixing, I think, the last 4 songs on that record this week.
That's amazing.
This full album. I can't give too much away. I already did. I mean, I already said that Phil and Jerry and I have a project.
So
things produced or called or anything yet, but what's that?
Are you the vocalist on the album?
I am. Oh, I can tell you that. Yeah, it's Phil and Jerry and I singing.
Secondly,
we wrote everything.
Oh, nice.
It's a hard rock record.
Perfect.
It's a hard rock record with big courses and a lot of fun. It doesn't sound like Kiss, which people are going to think, but it's a hard rock record. And judging from, I say, the pedigree or the fandom that the three of us come from, it's everything that you can expect as far as a fun hard rock record. And there's some details I have that I can't give you because we have to sit up for a minute. And there's some details I can't give you because I just don't know yet. So it's in the works and it's exciting. Philip, Jeremy and I are here in Nashville right now. Jeremy lives on the other side of town. Philip is currently in Europe with Accept. You know, he plays guitar for them.
Yep.
And he's finishing up festival season over there. So I'll see him in a week or so back here in Nashville.
Oh, nice.
And I know Accept is going to do a North American run, a short one in October for about 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'll see Philip really soon. But everybody's...
Most of the Accept guys are your neighbors as well, right? In Nashville.
Well, they were. It's kind of, you know, I think Wolf has moved. Yeah, you know, Wolf is here, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, Wolf, Martin, Philip.
Yeah, I can't keep track of everybody. You would know better than I do. I know Philip and Christopher are here for sure. Yeah.
So, any idea when we can see this classic / hard rock record? No. Okay. Where?
23. It'll be next year.
All right.
This year it's just too soon because you know how it is with labels and scheduling a release date once something's done, because it's not even mixed yet. All we have are references and that kind of thing. But listen, it's one of these things that we're so excited about that the minute that we can pull the trigger and tell people, we will.
Yeah.
It's just, like I said, I don't feel bad telling people that we did it. It's just I can't give too much away because it's just business.
I get that.
It's just business.
I'll be hassling you for updates on a regular basis, mate.
Of course.
Is very interested in this.
Of course.
Mate, one final question before I let you go out and enjoy your night over there in Nashville. What is the best piece of advice that you can give to young and aspiring musicians?
I would say don't pigeonhole yourself in one genre of music. I'm guilty right here, and I'm not regretting what my favorite kind of music was, but it's like learn how to play different styles so much so that you become like a human Swiss Army knife that you can do anything. It's like, don't just play guitar, play the drums, play the keyboard, play the bass, work on your voice, learn to sing. It's so like, if there's a gig between two bass players and both are equally great players, but one sings better than the other, the guy that can sing is going to get it.
Yep.
You know, really develop your craft. And as far as styles go, don't just play hard rock if you're a rock guy. Learn how to play funk like Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Average White Band, because they play so differently, and it's just going to make you better all the time. Learn to play pop. You know, like the guy that plays guitar for Pink is such a different guy that plays guitar for Megadeth. But the thing is, they're such well-rounded guys. It's like, it's advice that I wish I would have followed when I was younger, because I really was, like I said, again, I was Seabiscuit. I was bang. I did one thing.
Yeah.
And it's just develop your craft as much as you can, because you'll become more invaluable as you get older. And learn to sing. Even if it's just good to be a lead singer, but learn how to sing harmony and do that kind of thing. And just make yourself to where people can't afford to not have you in their band.
That was my problem, Ryan. I confine my singing to the shower, and that's where it belongs to.
And you know what? It's not in the cards for everybody, but if you can do it and just get, close, let's just try to. But my point being, try to do everything. If you think that there's a lot of fiddle players in demand, but there aren't very many of them, learn to play the fiddle. It's like, learn to make yourself the guy that gets the gig because the other guy couldn't do something. And always try to play with people that are better than you, because it'll make you better.
Yeah. Look, that's very good advice. Very good advice.
Yeah.
And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Really looking forward to the album, whatever it is.
Thank you.
Forward to that. But on behalf of Rockhouse Mag, mate, really appreciate your time and best of everything.
Same to you, and I hope that we do this again. I'm game.
Let's do it when this album comes out then.
Okay. I'm gonna hold you to it. Okay, thanks.
And I'll get you that Voodoo Sex Dolls t-shirt.
I'll wear it.
And one. All right, done. Ryan, keep rocking, man.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.